Hello, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome back to Talos of Tech live on Twitch. Hope you're having a wonderful Thursday. For me, it is a Friday because I will not be working much tomorrow. I'll be doing the tech podcast, but that's about it. Oh god, I wonder if it lagged right on the. I was just watching the stream replay thing. It lagged at like the perfect moment. I hope it looked like that for everybody. I was thinking about how often AirPods get refreshed. We don't have to talk about that for the full hour, but the truth is, Apple didn't do anything with AirPods for a long time, and I'm wondering if they're about to do something again soon, because I've been hearing that there's an AirPods refresh, but at the same time, we're past mid-May now, and most of these site refreshes happen Mondays through Wednesdays, so that means it basically has to happen next week, or possibly not in May at all. Maybe they could do some site refreshes in June, but the truth is, AirPods Gen 2 came out in March of 2019, and that was the first change to AirPods since they launched, and that was late 2016. So there was nearly, close to 3 years time difference there. It was definitely over 2 years, that's for sure. But man, there was a lot of time between them. So that makes me wonder if maybe Gen 2 AirPods are here to stick around for a while. Maybe they got nothing in store for them. I'm still having a hard time coming up with features. We tried to do on a video back. Maybe there's some new silicon or something like that. But yeah, might not happen at all. Let's see. Pizza Man, thank you for the bits. Oh, Michael Lipe, thank you for the Twitch Prime sub as well. Waiting for AirPods Pro 2 to upgrade from my 1.5-year-old one normal AirPods. Thank you, Thrilling Morty, for the bits. I think if you're waiting on the AirPods Pro 2, oh my god, these names getting out of control. You're going to be waiting for a while, because I don't think AirPods Pro are going to get refreshed for a while. I could be wrong, but from what I've seen so far, it appears that Apple does not plan on refreshing AirPods annually. That could change in the future, maybe just because the wearables market's getting more competitive, so they want to refresh them more often, but honestly, like, we passed the window that Gen 2 AirPods came out last year, so that was now 2 months ago, if they did want to start refreshing them every 12 months, so that's kind of outside the question now. So we're leaning more towards every 18 months if they do refresh them in the next couple weeks, because feels like there's always some AirPods refresh rumored at some point. Oh yeah, they're working on another pair, which I'm sure there are, but it's always fuzzy on the release window. It's always unsure. TVTube, thank you for the Twitch Prime sub for 20 months. Appreciate that. If they did a site refresh in July, it would be an apocalypse because it's so unoriginal. I guess, maybe. I doubt there would be a site refresh that far later. After the event? Would they really wait until after an event to drop a site? Maybe. Maybe something like that. Pro wasn't a refresh. It was a new product line, and the AirPods 2 was barely a refresh. I think AirPods 2 is basically as big of a... It's the classic definition of a refresh. It's like slightly better battery life for talk time, slightly different CPU on the inside, and a wireless charging case. It's like, yeah, that's as minor as it gets. Sip or Kip or whatever his name is saying AirPods 3, he's guessing is 2020 late in the year, and AirPods Pro 2 will not be until next year, or perhaps 2022, and then AirPods Studio is coming out. Yeah, I think we can all kind of agree on AirPods 2 coming out at Worldwide Developers Conference. There's been so many leaks and rumors leading up to that. It sounds believable. Overachiever donated, I know your opinion on both, but which one do you think is more worth it? Mac Pro wheels at $700 or Pro Display XDR stand at $1,000? Oh man, they're both stupid. So if they're both stupid, I usually default to the cheapest one, but the wheels don't even do their job very well. Like, the wheels can't even lock, so I think I would have to go with the stand, because while it is an expensive stand, it works pretty well. I mean, you can attach the monitor to it, and it's stable, it holds it, you can swivel it. It's built well, you got different height adjustments and stuff like that, so I think I gotta give it to the stand in that case. I think the stand wins. Oh, 100 bits from these names, I'm sorry. Mersey Motosha, thank you for the 150 bits. What would they actually add to normal AirPods 3? That's the issue we're running into that's making me wonder if they're coming out at all. Because all I could really think of is updating the internal processor and maybe lowering the starting price or something like that. Because they launched the H1 chip with the Gen 2 AirPods in March of last year. That was the first time they got like new silicon treatment via website refresh. And basically it helped with battery life. So maybe within the year they've come up with another power efficient way to put chips in AirPods. And then just Mersey, sorry for the tricky name. Okay, I'll just call you Mersey then. Thank you for the donation. I'm guessing it would just increase battery life. I doubt there would be noise cancellation, and honestly, I doubt there would even be a design change. I think Apple has appeared to be very set and very, very intentional about the AirPods design. They don't want to change it. They don't want to mess it around. They're happy with it. They like the iconicness of it. They might improve the sound quality, but I imagine it can't be much. I think a lower starting price would be helpful, though, especially when there's more competitors now, like so many people talking about the Raycons and the Galaxy Buds and, you know, dozens of other companies that have cheaper AirPods knockoffs. So if Apple was able to lower their price, that could retain their dominance in the ecosystem, I guess, or something like that. But better question from Gabberjohn. Do we even need Gen 3 AirPods? I think a price cut on the Gen 2 will be the best move, especially if iPhone 12 box doesn't include earpods. That's a much better question. I don't think we need Gen 3 AirPods because there's probably nothing Apple has developed or worked on that can help AirPods become that much better. What I do agree would be really nice that Samsung has been doing for a while is including AirPods, or at least offering an AirPods discount when you buy an iPhone. I think that would be much more competitive, and I'd be happy about it because I got to order the new iPhone anyway. But imagine if they gave you some type of discount, or maybe this is too much wishful thinking, but imagine if they included AirPods if you pre-ordered the iPhone. That would be really nice. They probably lose too much money on it, though. So that's why they won't do it. Maybe they'll discount them or something. They'll do like a kind of like how they do a Beats discount, right? If you buy a Mac for college, you get a free pair of Beats. Maybe they'll just start doing that with AirPods or something like that. That'd be nice. Something with AirPods with a sale. I think that's what AirPods need more so than a refresh right now. They absolutely need more of a site upgrade than a. They need a deal more than they need a CPU refresh. Whoa! Holy crap! 2,100 bits from Chris Norton. Thank you very much. Incredibly generous. Have some bits. That's all he said. Thank you, Chris. Appreciate it. All right. Drew, I'm a bit confused because you said in the Pixelbook rant that the side arrow keys should take up more space, but now you'd rather them take up less space. What changes your mind? I don't think I've ever said I'd rather them take up less space. In fact, if you recall my video talking about the 16-inch MacBook Pro, I said that I thought it was a little confusing that they went back on the arrow key design, like they went to the inverted T method, because I thought the older design where the side arrow keys were larger made more sense. But truth is, doesn't really impact me very much, and there were a lot of people actually complaining about that, because once I brought that up in my 16-inch MacBook Pro video, I was like, hey, why did they go back on the arrow key design? I kind of like the new arrow key design. There were a bunch of comments and a bunch of people replying to me that they were like, as software engineers or whatever, as someone who uses the arrow keys a lot, it's much better to have the inverted T design because you can feel them compared to the old design, which it was harder to register, like, oh, there's the arrow keys when you were trying to type and not look at them. See, oh, here's a good example. I was fine with this design where the arrow keys are larger on the side, just because there's less empty space and it fills in all that room. But there were a lot of people in the development field that said, no, that's worse. We don't like that, actually. And I was like, oh, okay, maybe that's nice. So I didn't change my opinion of it. There are things I have changed my opinion, though, on. So keep in mind, the Apple sheep is still biased. That will still come back around. For instance, I gave the Pixel 3 a lot of crap for removing headphones included in the box. You don't even have to bring this up. I'll bring it up for you. And now I'm hearing about the iPhone 12 not including headphones in the box, and I'm like, yeah, that makes sense. Hypocritical? Yes. Biased? Yes. Double standards? Absolutely. No denying that here. However, the way my Apple sheep mind justifies it is AirPods are a phenomenon. They're selling incredibly well. So many people are buying them and having access to them now. And as we're running in more recent polls, we're discovering that, I know it's the tech community, but I ran a poll on YouTube and I ran a poll on Twitter. Both polls had almost identical results, and they had each of them had like 5,000 votes. So I just polled 10,000 people Majority of them do not use the headphones their phone comes with. Okay, so given the fact that so many people are buying AirPods and having AirPods is so common, and so many of us have headphones of some kind now, it doesn't have to be AirPods, it could be any type of wireless headphones, as it's becoming more and more normal to not, you don't have a headphone jack anymore on your iPhone, so more people are switching to wireless. The truth is, the majority of people do not use the headphones their iPhone comes with. And because Apple has kind of dominated this industry and so many people have AirPods and wireless support, I say it makes a bit more sense for Apple to remove the headphones compared to, I think, what was it? Was it the Pixel 4 or the Pixel 3 that didn't have headphones? I can't remember. It was one of those. But my point is, Pixel Buds were not popular. So that was probably how I justified it. At the end of the day, I wouldn't have used the headphones it came with anyway. But yeah, there's dogpile anti-bias against Google. I'm extra hard on the Pixel line. Yes, it's not fair. Don't come to me for fair and just reviews because I will be more biased on certain products than others. Hate to break it to you. That's how I am. I'm kind of weird that way. Bob, 2020, thank you for the Twitch Prime sub. He said, hi, I'm late. Don't worry about it. You're not late. Let's see. Fat side arrows are bad for use without looking. Okay, there we go from Ethan. AirPods just need to be a little cheaper personally, then it will be in everyone's ears. They already, I think, are the most popular wireless headphones on the market, so they don't really need to jump ahead that far. Let's see. What's he asking? Along? You get to choose either everyone would switch over to WhatsApp, both iPhone and Android users, or just keep it how it is. What are you talking about? I don't want everyone to switch to WhatsApp. WhatsApp sucks. Sorry, I know that some countries everyone uses it, but that doesn't make it good. I've tried it. I've used it before. It's not better. Overachiever donated here. I remember what you said about your response ad video to Samsung being taken down, but have you ever thought about updating that video since so much has changed since you've posted it? Which one? Response ad video to Samsung being taken. Oh yeah, I remember that one. Might be fun to update that sometime. I don't know. It's not a great time right now just because we're trying to stay at home and stay quarantined as much as possible. But yeah, we might do something with it in the future. I don't have any plans to though. WhatsApp is awful. We had to use it for work. I hate it. You know what I've noticed about WhatsApp users is that the WhatsApp uses a lot more onboard storage than iMessage does. Maybe that's because of, iCloud integration or something like that. But from what I've seen, the WhatsApp takes up a ton more space on the devices that I know that people use it with. And also, I just don't like the idea of having another account. Like, there's so many things I would rather Apple do, and I would rather use Apple, not necessarily because it's better, just because it's easier and more simple to have one email and one password for as many things as possible. Like, that's why signing up and using the Apple Card was so easy. Because you didn't have to make a new account with another bank, and you didn't have to download another app on all your devices. It's just built in. It's built into the phone, so you don't have to download it and sign into it when you set up and update your phone all of a sudden. It's just built in right there. Pixelbook Go is what I meant. Okay, well, apparently, I have nothing wrong with these because I'm not a software engineer, so I don't have any issues with the side arrow keys being fatter, but apparently a lot of people did, so I understand why Apple went back on it, but I don't recall ever saying in my videos that they went to the inverted T design and that I preferred that. I'm pretty confident I never said I preferred that way. WhatsApp takes up 3 gigs on my phone, just sucks everyone uses it, but I wish I could ditch it. Yeah, that's why I like iMessage, is that you don't have to download another app and have another email and have another password. It's built in. It's just right there when you set it up. First party stuff is good, to a certain extent. Let's see. When would HomePod Mini get dropped? Unsure. There's definitely leakers still talking about it. Probably, I don't know. That makes sense to be something they would do at Worldwide Developers Conference, but maybe not that soon. The first HomePod was launched at Worldwide Developers Conference, so why not the second one? I would say June makes sense. Maybe they won't ship it in June, but they'll unveil it in June. But I'm really hoping they do something with the HomePod because it desperately needs it. It's a solid little speaker, but it's like hardly ever used above 50% volume because that speaker is way too loud for what most people need. And I think Apple was just trying to prioritize, like, we have the best sounding speaker. It's like, yeah, okay, but it doesn't need to be this loud. It doesn't need to be this overkill. Make a condensed down, cheaper version that covers, the majority of users. The iPhone 10R of HomePods, basically. Whoa, 300 bits from Chris. He says, I don't use the headphones with me phone. A phone's a phone. Okay. That's a lot of people I know, including my mother, my mom, and my dad. Neither of you are, heavy phone users. They're kind of just, they don't take a bunch of they don't care about the techie things of their phone. They just use their phone for basic stuff. Neither of them use the headphones their phone came with either. So I'm imagining Apple is just picking up on that being common, and that less and less people are actually using them, and that's just a lot of e-waste at the end of the day. And maybe there's a payoff here. I mean, when we heard about the iPhone 12 prices, we were like, hey, these sound pretty good. These sound like really competitive. And I also mentioned that probably means they have to cut some corners somewhere. There's probably going to be some things that get left out, or some things we wanted that they're not going to do. Totally possible that they won't deliver on everything we want. But who knows? Maybe if the compromise is like, okay, the iPhone 12 doesn't come with headphones in the box. Dang, that kind of sucks. But fast charging is now standard. Maybe more people would appreciate that. I don't know. Somebody. 9 bits from Gabber. How often do you charge your AirPods/AirPods Pro? Well, since my wife's been working at home, I've been using my AirPods a lot more lately. I'll be honest with you guys. I'll talk about AirPods long-term review. I've been using them with my iMac Pro in editing videos and watching videos with the AirPods on the Mac. The latency is not that bad, to be honest with you. Maybe I'm not an audiophile and maybe I'm not an audio engineer, but editing videos with wireless headphones on the Mac, actually, I gotta say, it's pretty dang close to how it would be with the built-in speakers. Like, for the longest time, I've always edited just with the speakers on the iMac Pro because they sound fine and I like them. But I don't want to, my wife is taking phone calls and working outside the office. I don't want to disturb her, so I've been putting AirPods in more. There's like barely any latency. It's very slight. It's barely there. So I get that there's probably certain demographics that notice it and may have more issues with it, but it's been working great for me. It's not been holding me back to the point that like, oh, I can't edit anymore. It's unusable. It's totally usable. There might be a slight millisecond delay or something like that, but it's working good. I charge my second gen AirPods probably once every 3 days, honestly, depending on my usage of them. It could probably stretch to 4 days on occasion, depending on how much I'm using them. But AirPods Pro, I pretty much only use those when I mow the lawn, or there's a fan in the room or something going on. It's like really hot. So not that often. So AirPods Pro, I would say I charge maybe like once a week, something like that. Let's see. I agree with a lot of people that Google Assistant is smarter than Siri, but I mean, I'm not really asking it that many things. All I ask Google Assistant is the weather, time, some math stuff, or what day of the week a certain date is. Siri is fine for stuff like that, which is probably what most people are using. I agree. I've thought the same thing, Yusuf, for a long time, that the opinions on digital assistants are very, very exaggerated. People say Siri is dumber than she really is, and people also say the Google Assistant is way smarter than she really is. There's still a bunch of things the Google Assistant can't do that we run into pretty regularly. And the bigger issue using the Google speakers versus the HomePod is that the Google speaker, it feels like half the time now we have to say hello Google twice. Like we have to call out to it more than once to get it to hear us. And it feels like we never have that problem with Siri. And I think that's pretty important because there may be some internet factoid questions that Siri can't answer, but yeah, you're right. Majority of the time with digital assistants, it's always like, set a timer, what day is this, do some math, how do you say this in a different language, and just like really basic stuff that both of them can do. Mersey, is that your name? Mersey, after watching that stream the other week where you talked about your AirPower knockoff, I bought one off Amazon, loving it so far. Okay, hope it works out for you. Thank you for the 10 bits. Is the OnePlus 8 on its way? Yeah, I think so. Mint said that because of the pandemic, a lot of things have been delayed, but I should be expecting it next week. So I know they've said that before, but they gave me a date this time. And they also told me the finish. Oh, perfect. They just sent me a tracking number. Like literally 2 minutes ago, they just emailed me. I was going to see. Have they responded? Let me make sure it's the right one here. So it has shipped. Yeah, it says Tuesday the 26th. Yeah, that looks correct. Oh, and it's shipping from California, so it's not even terribly far away. Cool. Yeah, they said it is a. I didn't have any control over this, but they said it is a glacial green, 12 gigs of RAM, 256 gigs of storage, OnePlus 8, which is really cool. No, I'm not going to get a SIM for it, but I will get to keep this phone, so that's cool. Not sending it back. So yeah, thanks, Mint. Once again, just being generous. They also, I know I probably talked about this already, but they're extending their unlimited data period to a third month. So everybody's been getting unlimited data for the past 3 months now. Even if you pay $15 a month for Mint Mobile, you get unlimited data. So that's pretty awesome. Probably just because not that many people are using it. Everyone's at home, so Mint's like, hey, no one's using their data. So, why did I take down the response ad to Samsung? So there's a bunch of reasons older videos will get taken down. Sometimes they have flaws or editing mistakes in them. That's usually not a great reason. But sometimes there's like a bunch of mistakes in an old video and it doesn't really hold up that well. And there's been like 3 views in the past year. So I'm like, okay, we don't need to keep that video up. But in this particular case, the reason that one was taken down was because it actually showed some things that had private info on it that I didn't see when I first uploaded it. And then looking at it again, I was like, oh, shoot, that's got some private info I wasn't supposed to show. So we take down those older videos that aren't getting much views and also have some private info in them. So I won't say exactly what it was, but it had some stuff that I didn't want to remain public. Let's see. Will this be your secondary Android phone alongside your 11 Pro Max? Well, no, I think it'll be my primary Android phone, given I don't have an Android right now. I actually have Wyatt's old Galaxy Note 5, but it's broken, so I don't use that. Like, the glass on the back and the front are all shattered, but yeah. I will be reviewing and unboxing and trying out the OnePlus 8 and all that, so that should be fun. Oh, some bits from Overachiever. I'm just imagining how high of a number my screen time for YouTube since the stay-in orders since COVID-19, but I think if I look at it, I'll regret it. Yeah, I imagine it wouldn't be good. Most of our YouTube watching experience can't be great. Why is data so expensive in America? In one carrier 3, they had on offer unlimited data, calls, and text roaming in Europe for $9.50 a month. Well, it's because America is much more spread out than countries like than most places in Europe. So there's a lot less. It costs a lot more to run wires and cabling across the country to different cell towers. So that's why you notice countries with physically smaller land masses are able to get much better internet. Like South Korea and Japan have some of the best Wi-Fi in the world, and they're pretty small countries in comparison to something like the United States. Because you have to stretch the wiring across so much more space because a lot of citizens in the U.S. are all spread out across different areas, whereas places in Europe, it's a lot more concentrated, there's a lot more people, so they run more wire, and they can attach things a lot easily. So data is dirt cheap in America compared to Canada. Yeah, it's all relative. I mean, there's other countries where they wish they could get data plans as good as America. But you also have a lot worse credit cards in Europe. So there's all kinds of pros and cons. I can't find any great credit cards in Europe that I've seen. They all have really sucky cashback and rewards compared to the United States credit cards. The UK is a lot easier to cover than the US. Also, Vodafone's and EE's prices are very comparable to US pricing. Okay. Countries like the countries in Europe, you know what I mean. I just made a whole video today about Australia and different continents and where they put gigafactories and stuff. So my brain is all mixed up when it comes to continents and countries. What do you think of the Phone Rebel case and the collaboration between Undercover and Phone Rebel? I don't know who that is. I don't really follow the jailbreak stuff, but I'm not really into phone cases in general. Nothing against everything Apple Pro personally, but I'm just not. That phone case doesn't look interesting or good to me. I won't be getting it. In Canada, for some reason, the OnePlus 8 and 8 Pro are more expensive than the iPhone 11 and 11 Pro. OnePlus sales are going to be basically dead, especially when the 5.4-inch iPhone 12 comes out. Well, isn't everything more expensive in Canada? Don't you guys have to include the healthcare costs in the prices? But there might be some import fee or something like that. Data here in Singapore is so cheap, we can get 20 gigs for $18. I mean, it's a really small country. Well, yeah, that helps. It's not that cheap. Uh, we're getting unlimited data for $15. So, ha! Take that. Except I have referrals on Mint Mobile, so I'm actually paying nothing. Beat that, Europe and Singapore. I get unlimited data and I pay $0. Are you going to run the iOS 14 and iPadOS 14 betas? I will try to. Um, I don't know. They make it harder and harder to install those betas. I think last year you had to like install the beta profiles off of a Mac. You couldn't just do it off the phone itself. So they're making it more and more complicated. So you mentioned 3, which is a UK carrier, which is why I said UK, but the same goes for most of Europe. Gotcha. Mint is sending me the OnePlus 8, not the 8 Pro, so I'm not getting the 8 Pro. But I think a lot of channels talked about that, so I don't know if I want to get an 8 Pro just to review, just because the phones are so similar in the first place. I'll accept any free phone if there's no contract and there's no expectations from the company that wants to send them. I'll take that. Last year there was no profile till beta 2. Okay, so they added beta profiles later. There wasn't on day 1 though. If you wanted the betas like right after the event, you had to do it through the Mac. France, for example, is very comparable to US on the main carriers there, but on free, it's a lot cheaper. Huh. Okay, gotcha. Let's see. In Denmark, you can get 100 gigs of data for $15. That's a lot easier when there's like 5 people in your country. I'm pretty sure there's... How many people live in Denmark? I gotta look this up. I've been looking up all kinds of population stuff lately. Let's see. Denmark... population. You guys are gonna answer it before. Oh, 5 million? There's more people in New York City than all of Denmark. That's funny. It's like it's basically the population of Southern California. That's the whole country. Let's see. Gabber donated again. Do you turn off any app inside iPhone backup? Some apps like PUBG, for example, backups the maps, which is dumb. I wonder if people notice that. I don't do a lot of mobile gaming, honestly, or gaming in general, so no, I don't really have anything turned off for backups. Let's see. There's only 4.7 million in Ireland. Yeah, there's a lot smaller countries. There's some benefits to smaller countries, but there's some negatives to smaller countries. The data pricing for cellular is one of them, I guess. But the pricing of iPhones and stuff is probably not as good. Why do you rather the non-Pro AirPods sometimes? They fit more comfortably in my ears. Typically, AirPods Pro will eventually fall out of my ears after a certain amount of time, and they feel slightly uncomfortable. Not terrible, not like unbearably uncomfortable. They're just slightly off compared to the regular AirPods, which regular AirPods, if I put those things in my ears, they will stay there all day, never fall out, never feel them, never get sore, anything like that. Whereas AirPods Pro, you can start to feel it after a little while. But active noise cancellation is so helpful, which I'm going to use in a minute because I'm going to mow the lawn right after this live stream. But it is so much more convenient and peaceful to be able to mow the lawn and not have to hear the mower compared to what it sounds like when you use traditional AirPods. So I'm fine with having both. It's not like AirPods Pro are so uncomfortable that I need to have regular AirPods. Like if my wife or someone I knew needed to have the regular AirPods and they needed them badly, I'd be like, okay, here, I have the Gen 2. I can live with AirPods Pro exclusively just fine if I need to. They're not that bad, but no, I'm not getting a pair of phone tips. It's not that big a problem. I'm probably over exaggerating it. Like they don't fall out that often. They just need me to like touch them every so often. Like every 30 minutes to an hour, I just have to readjust them a little bit. It's not something I'm willing to pay money to fix. Especially if I pay money and then it doesn't fix the problem, I'll feel even more stupid. It's not big. They work fine. When I mow the lawn, it usually takes me like 2.5 hours, so I don't mind wearing those for long periods of time. Should I upgrade my Series 2 watch to a 6 or go for a certified refurbished Series 4 or S5? Asks Mercy. Personally, I'm really happy with the Series 4, and it doesn't sound like the Series 6 is going to be that interesting. So I would say go for refurbished or heavily discounted Series 4. See how good of a deal you can find on one, because always on display is not that big a deal in my opinion. This watch is always turning on whenever I need it to. Like, always on display would be a much bigger deal if there was a lot of times where my watch wasn't turning on and I wanted it to. But there isn't. There's not a bunch of times where I'm like, come on, why won't it turn on? Like, it feels like it's already on by the time I'm looking at it. Half the time, it's very sensitive to the rotation of the wrist. It's very sensitive to you tapping it. So it's not something I would put that much space on. I would put that much like money on top of, like, this needs, that you got to go for the Series 5 instead of the 4, because it's just going to add unnecessary extra price to it. Buying a used Apple Watch. No, I'm not saying buying a used Apple Watch. It's certified refurbished, which is basically new. Let's see. Are you getting the Series 6 Apple Watch? I'll definitely get one to review, but I doubt I'll keep it, based on the rumors we're hearing so far. I'm trying to think of something that could add to the Series 6 that would make me want to hold on to it and actually replace my Series 4, but everything I've heard so far sounds really boring and uninteresting. S5 and S4 have the same silicon? Yeah, pretty much. I mean, no, there's no CPU or performance benefits of the Series 5. It doesn't boot up faster or anything. In fact, at launch, it appeared to have a slightly worse battery life than the Series 4, but later people said, okay, via software updates, it's gotten better, and at very, very best, it's the same battery life as the Series 4. There's been no indications that it's a better battery life than the Series 4, so I would say they're basically identical. Literally, the only difference between Series 4 and 5 is always on display and a compass. And the compass is stupid because GPS is in the Series 4 anyway, so I don't know why you need to know which direction north is if you have GPS. But yeah, I there's not very many people I could recommend the Series 5 to other than people that are just adamant that they need an always on display. But there's a setting for the Series 4 you can turn on that will make the display not shut off for like 70 seconds instead of 15. Like, if I tap my watch right now, and I don't look at it, it'll stay on for a few seconds, but eventually it will shut off. And I believe there's a setting under display that will make it stay on for like a good, it's still on right now. Okay, now it's off. Where is it? Accessibility. Somewhere in there. You got to look around for it. But, is it under general? I'll find it. Wake screen. Here you go. So on tap, it's wake for 15 seconds, and it's under the settings general and wake screen. You can set it to wake for 70 seconds. And that means that when you tap to wake it up, it will stay on for over a minute. So that's basically what always on display is going to be for you. I just don't know why you need the display on when you're not looking at the device, in my opinion. It just annoys me. No, it doesn't cause burn-in from what I've seen. There's no burn-in. Why do you think more developers don't add the touch bar Face ID lock feature to their app, like all personal information apps, for example? I don't know. I wish they would. Maybe some developers are just behind the times. You can't get refurbished Apple Watches in some countries. Yeah, but there's you guys have like third-party stores, right, that sell them. You can find them online. You can find them on... If you don't have Amazon, I mean, is there Best Buy or like, I don't know. I don't know what markets. There's so many different countries you guys are watching from. I can't pretend I know all of them. Let's see. Would you keep the Series 6 if someone donated the whole cost of the watch? Asked Grudy. You guys always ask that, and then they're like, cool, someone do it. I always notice that. I mean, if someone donated the exact amount and said specifically use this to keep a Series 6, then sure, yeah, I guess I would. But that's probably not what would happen. I doubt that. Since Android 10 and iOS 13 both have native support for Xbox and PS4 controllers, buying a Nintendo Switch Lite seems kind of pointless, as you are just a secondary console for on the go. Especially games like Minecraft, Call of Duty Mobile, and Fortnite perform better on the phones than a Switch. Yusuf, you and I both know that's not why people buy the Nintendo Switch. They buy the Nintendo Switch for the exclusive games Nintendo has. Yes, if you don't care about Breath of the Wild or Super Mario Odyssey or just, all the Switch, what's the game called? Frick. What's the one everyone's playing? Animal Crossing. If you don't care about the Nintendo exclusives, you're not buying a Switch, or at least you shouldn't buy a Switch. There's much better things to spend your money on. Let's see. I have the iPhone 10. Should I upgrade to the iPhone 12 6.1 inch? If you can comfortably afford it, sure. Go ahead. I think it'll be a noticeable and appreciated upgrade. Well, Apple Watch is certified refurbished. They literally do nothing, unlike iPad and iPhones. What? They literally do nothing. I haven't heard that. I've heard they still replace a lot of the components. Certified refurbished Apple Watches seems to be around 70 pounds off here. Hey, that's a deal. It's a deal if you can get one. Either secondhand or new. Actually, we hand refurbish Macs and iPads from Apple, but that's it. Well, you can still find them cheaper elsewhere. I'm just look around. I don't know where your markets are. Let's see. The smaller S5 has a 10% larger battery. Oh, so you mean the 40 millimeter Series 5? I don't think it's a noticeable difference. I imagine it results in the same thing. Like if you want, only reason to get the Series 5 is if you want a higher end material option like titanium and ceramic. That's true. I guess you can't get that on Series 4. That's not a great investment though, to be honest. I've noticed Apple Watches have terrible resale value, so that's pretty much the only thing keeping me from getting like a ceramic Apple Watch, because I've always thought those look the best, and I really, really want one. I think that hard white shell look to the Apple Watch looks amazing, but I also know that if I buy that thing, I'm gonna not be able to get my money back for it, and it's just gonna be something I have on me all the time, and I'll probably get used to it after a while and just be like, yep, that's the ceramic Apple Watch, and then I won't even think about it. So that's why I haven't done that, just because it's not a wise financial decision. But I guess if I had a bunch of income I didn't want to do anything with, but that never happens anymore. Anytime we get money, we know exactly what we're doing with it. So I'd rather have a Tesla. If a ceramic Apple Watch pushes a Tesla a month back, then it's not worth it. It's just a pretty watch. When Apple refurbishes any product, they replace any non-functional parts in the outside casings. That's good. I'm really intrigued about the mental health features leaks about the Series 6. I'm confused by those. I don't understand what hardware allows for mental health features. Any type of leak or rumor I've heard for the Series 6 sounds like a software feature. So I don't get it. I don't understand. Like, why does the warning of like, hey, you're stressed out, you have anxiety, like, why do you need hardware for that? Does it just need to look at your heart rate? Because our old watches can do that. I don't get it. Let's see. I buy my Apple TVs refurbished. Yeah, that's a good idea. You should. Those things you don't even touch barely. You're using the remote for the most part. So it's just a box sitting on a TV. Why not? I'm always late to the streams. What days do you stream and what time? There's not a set schedule, but the rough schedule is I try to do them every other day. Not counting my weekend, which is Friday and Saturday. So I'll probably do another Twitch stream on Sunday, and then one on Tuesday, and then one on Thursday. So about, 3 times a week. They will have to do a very hard sell to convince me I should get a Series 6. Yeah, I have no clue what they're going to do. I'm hoping that they drastically increase the battery life. That might get me to upgrade if it, allows me to use the watch totally differently. Like, if they said the watch now lasts a week on a charge, I would be like, okay, that's pretty cool. Like, I don't even have to charge it for that long, even though it's not really battery life isn't an issue with my Apple Watch, so it's not a great reason to upgrade either way. But that would be at least somewhat interesting to be like, whoa, holy crap, they can get that watch to last a whole week now, opposed to just a couple days. Like, that's crazy. Let's see. Oh no, I am stressed. That's what the watch will do. You are stressed out. You should stop being stressed. Thank you, Apple Watch. It's going to try to give you mental health features from sleep tracking. You did not sleep well last night. Thank you, watch. I know that. Why hasn't switching quality on video in the standard camera app on other phones than the iPhone 11? That's just a classic Apple being Apple, trying to get you to buy the latest phone. They're like, oh, we have pro camera features on the latest iPhone, so get a later iPhone. It's just another reason to encourage people to update their watches. Um, let's see. We don't have a clue what Apple is doing with the Series 6, but can we mention iOS 15 for a second? What are they going to add? I don't know about iOS 14. Why are we talking about iOS 15? I think iOS 14 is mostly going to be about stability and just ironing things out. I think that Apple's probably not too concerned with drastic redesigns or updating the home screen that much. They might do something like that, but I'm not hearing much. I mean, we heard about the widgets thing, but we also heard that Apple was redesigning the iPad home screen, and it turned out to be pretty minor. It was like, okay, here's the stocks and the column. You can put your little widgets on the home screen on one end of it. That's it. So I don't get my hopes up too high for customization, but Apple Watch 6. Stop being depressed. Sounds good. More AR demos. Yes. We're going to get more augmented reality demos. Thank you, Overachiever, for some bits. I was thinking earlier about SoFi Stadium, and that was supposed to finish in LA where we live in 2020, but COVID-19 ruined the opening. It was supposed to have its grand opening this year and could hold 70,000 people and expand to hold 100,000. Cost $5 billion to build. The most expensive stadium, finishing 2020. Oof. That is a big oof. Yeah, everything's been impacted for sure. It's kind of lame how every year now everyone says the next iOS is going to be about stability. Can we just accept the new iOS won't be stable for a while? No, it's happened before, John. I mean, like, there was a lot of leaks leading up to iOS 12 that I remember people saying a bunch of features have been delayed for iOS 13 so that iOS 12 can be more about stability and software improvements. And that's what it was. They brought iOS 12 to every single device that had iOS 11, and it was a lot smoother. It was a lot less bumpy. It improved efficiency and storage and app loading times and stuff like that. So it's not crazy to assume, because no one was really saying iOS 13 was going to be about stability and less bugs. It was all about dark mode, and there's a bunch of stuff that actually happened for iOS 13. I'm trying to remember what it was. But it wasn't just software improvements. So it's not like there's not like a giant feature people are expecting for iOS 14 other than like the phone call thing to not cover up the whole screen. Other than that, you seem sad. Did you know you could play Pokemon Go on your Apple Watch? There's a good selling point. You seem sad today. Let's play some Apple Watch games. You seem sad today. You should subscribe to Apple Arcade for endless fun. Thank you, Series 6. This is a hardware feature, by the way. Like, can someone, chat, help me with this? There's a bunch of you guys watching this right now. What is something hardware-wise they can add to the Series 6 that would get people to upgrade? And I guarantee you we're just going to get a bunch of gimmicks in the chat. Come on. Excited for iPadOS 2? Yeah, iPadOS especially. There's so much they could do to that. If they revamped external monitor support, and I'm hearing about Final Cut, Logic, and Xcode and that kind of thing. And the biggest thing they could add is calculator to the iPad. That would be everything. Literally no one says anything. A rounded display. I mean, it is technically rounded. 120 hertz. ProMotion Apple Watch. Yeah, that would get me to upgrade. Smaller bezels. That would get me to upgrade, yeah. Not rumored, but it would get me. Oxygen levels of the blood. Would you guys really upgrade for that? Stop speeding warnings. A camera? No, guys, we don't need a camera on a watch. I heard something about redesigning the digital crown. That seems pointless, though, apart from even more water resistance. Pressure sensor. If you poop too hard, the Apple Watch detects it and figures out you've been eating too much ice cream, meaning you were crying too much. Yusuf, what the... It detects when you crap too hard. LiDAR sensor. There we go. Automatically... No, the FaceTime would be horrible on the watch. It would suck. Food sensor. Oh my god, you're cracking me up. Corporal temperature. You seem sad today. Watch Snoopy in Space on Apple TV+. Oh, of course, Slofi button. We didn't think of that one. Yeah, no. Everything that was remotely interesting you guys listed doesn't sound interesting. I'm upgrading for blood oxygen monitoring, but that's because I have a specific lung issue where I need that sensor. Yeah, it sounds like it's happening. I saw several reports about the blood pressure thing, but it's not a good reason for everyday people. I mean, if you fall in the demographic of people that need to know that regularly, I guess, but that's not everybody. They can put on a thermostat so you can measure your current temperature. Can they measure your temperature just by feeling the outside of your skin? Is there a way to do that? Maybe a different hardware design with a flexible display that wraps around your wrist. I don't know. I like how Koji's just like, I don't, just make it wrap around the wrist or something, I guess. Who knows? Temperate sensor. Apple Watch 6 sees poop in running. Oh, you ate dairy again, didn't you? I don't care about sleep tracking. I care about stool tracking. We're gonna track your crap. Apple News button. There you go. You click it and it actively signs you up for Apple News Plus. $10 a month every time you click that button. Even if you already have it, it charges you twice. AR support for the Apple Glass. Trick question. Apple Glass hasn't launched yet and won't launch before the Series 6, so a SIM tray would be great because not all carriers do eSIMs. I don't think there's room, given a SIM tray would be like the size of the entire battery and CPU inside the Apple Watch. Gives you an electric shock whenever you open the Spotify app. See, now that I would upgrade for. That makes sense. Even better. You seem sad. Try Apple News. Opens Apple News. Did you know 50,000 people died today? That's not funny. Not funny. Yeah, based on what everyone has said today in the chat, doesn't sound like I'm getting a Series 6. In fact, if it's literally just blood pressure monitoring, I wonder if I'll even buy it to review. I might just skip it out entirely. Hardware redesign, turning it into a literal sphere. You just have this ball running around. I'm happy with my Series 4 for another 2 years. I'm usually not the guy that's happy with rocking a wearable. Like, every time new AirPods come out, boom, I always buy it. Like, day one, I got the first gen AirPods, I bought on day one. Gen 2 AirPods, bought 2 of them on day one. AirPods Pro, boom, ordered them immediately, and I still have them. So I'm typically, same with the iPhone. Launch day, pre-order, midnight, I'm always there. I'm always there getting the latest, greatest. But the Apple Watch, I'm becoming to be that guy that doesn't need the latest one. I'm becoming to be that, like, it just doesn't matter. It doesn't. Don't you think Apple glasses will look dorky? Also, do you think there'd be no point for watch if there's glasses? No. They serve completely different markets because the glasses do not cater to the activity and health features that the watch does. You won't be able to do things like heart rate monitoring, ECG, blood pressure monitoring. You won't be able to do that kind of stuff with the glasses. And also the glasses will be capable of holograms and, yes, notification delivery, but all kinds of AR demos and applications with other products and how they work together. Totally different products. They overlap a little bit with notification delivery, but at the end of the day, the Apple Watch is still going to start at $200. And absolute best case scenario, Apple Glass starts at $500. I still think it'll be more than that, but even if the rumors are true and they do start at $500, Apple Watch is severely cheaper. So even the Series 5 starts at like $400, right? So yeah, it's still cheaper to get a watch, and you get all the health features that the glasses couldn't do. Add a teleportation device to the watch where you say, "Beam me up, Scotty." Bam, Siri teleports you anywhere. They did that joke. I saw that joke overachiever. Gets rid of the Breathe app. No! How will we breathe? We need oxygen. Deletes Breathe app, starts choking. Tesla plus Apple equals Cyber Watch. It has a stainless steel. We already got that. Quantity design. It has an optional fold-out solar panel. How about solar watch bands? That sounds cool. Final cut on Apple Watch. When? Yeah, I'm definitely more excited for the glasses than the Series 6, but a design change would get me to upgrade, honestly. Even though it wouldn't really be a functional one, I just like having tech that looks and appears noticeably different and better than the previous gen. So if they did something to the design, like if they shrunk the bezels or if they made it squared off with the iPhone in some way. I don't know. I would upgrade for that if they look different. A week-long battery would probably get me to upgrade, but I don't think it's going to be it. I'm hearing that there's a longer battery, but I'm guessing it's going to be like, the last Apple Watch was 18 hours. Now it's 22 hours. I'll be like, cool, thanks. Other Apple products I usually upgrade every year. The watch, not so much. I guess the watch, my iPad, and my iMac, I don't update like annually, just because there's not a good reason to. I mean, I tried the 2020 iPad Pro. I saw someone earlier asking me to review the 11-inch Magic Keyboard case. I don't have an 11-inch iPad anymore, so I don't have something to test it on. But I can tell you, based on what I've seen from other people reporting and pictures, that I think the 11-inch iPad is good if you plan on using it just as a tablet and not as a 2-in-1, because the 11-inch iPad Pro Magic Keyboard looks very small. It looks very, very hard to type on because of how small that keyboard is, whereas the Magic Keyboard for my 12.9-inch iPad Pro is basically the same size as this one. It's the same size as like a desktop keyboard, so easy to convert over to, just like typing on a MacBook. It's fine. Maybe the microphone remembers every time you cry. If you sweat and you're not exercising, it means you're anxious. And same thing with your heartbeat. Then they could have activity rings, but for not crying and being anxious. I closed my not crying activity ring today. I still see your shadows in my room. Lasts an hour longer than Series 5. Well, how long did the Series 5 last? Lasts about as long as Series 3. How long is that? Wasn't that what was going on in the iPhone compare page? It was like, how long is the iPhone SE battery? About the same as iPhone 8. How long is iPhone 8 battery? About the same as iPhone 7. How long is iPhone 7 battery? 2 hours longer than iPhone 6S. It was like, what is it? I don't know. It's fine. I have the 11-inch Magic Keyboard. It's a little cramped, but no worse than a Chromebook. I just don't like Chromebooks, so yeah, I wouldn't recommend it. 5G Apple Watch. I didn't get. Does Ookla even have a speed test app for watchOS? They would have to make one if there was a 5G Apple Watch. Apart from thumbnail design, what do you use the pencil for? That's most of it. I usually don't use the pencil unless I'm masking something out or working on a video thumbnail. Occasionally, I will use it for signatures. There was a lot of times, like when we bought our house, there was a lot of contracts we had to sign. And it was really nice that on those contracts and stuff, we could just tap it and it would be like, sign here, and I could just grab the pencil and go. So for a lot of paperwork and stuff, I use it, but that's about it. So I'm not an artist. I don't draw for a living. Occasionally we do sketches when we're doing like graphs and we're mapping out financial plans and going through times. We'll just use the pencil for that. That's about it. What would you want from the what would you want on the iPhone 12s? Probably just camera upgrades. That's all I can think of. I want them to get to the point where iPhones can start replacing Blackmagic cameras. And I know I've said in the past that won't happen, but I want them to prove me wrong. I want them to make DSLR-looking video and photos so that you can actually do high-quality videos on the iPhone without it being super compressed. And I don't think they should remove the charge port, but I don't care if they do because I don't use it on mine anyway, so I would say go for it, remove the charge port. Or USB-C, I would also be fine with that. And 120 hertz if you haven't already. If there's no 120 hertz this year, it'll absolutely be my number one feature for next year. It's actually already my number one feature for this year because basically my dream iPhone right now is this, but with 120 hertz and no charge port. That would be fine. I'd be okay with that. We need the swipe down on keyboard on iPhones like we have on iPads? Okay. Does Louise have an iPad? Yes, she has a 10.5-inch iPad Pro. She doesn't use it that much, though. Apple needs to expand by having more phone be able to have iOS, or like they can make a phone not called the iPhone, but it's still by Apple, and it could be a whole different design and a method and flow of the phone. What? You want them to make phones that aren't iPhones? Why would they do that? They want to compete with themselves? I think the lineup's already getting confusing as it is. There's already people that think it's weird they're releasing 5 iPhones in 1 year. iPhone SE, iPhone 12, iPhone 12 Max, iPhone 12 Pro, iPhone 12 Pro Max. A lot of people are like, yeah, okay, that's a bit too crazy. And you're like, no, they should make Apple phone that's not iPhone. How long do you think the Apple Watch would last with 5G? The same amount of time because it would just pull down data the same way it does now. It wouldn't take advantage of the 5G. Ilonk, thank you for the bit. I might stay with my Note 8 for another year. It's not lagging that frequently, and the screen and design is great. Tech has gotten great now. Yeah, it's becoming harder and harder to justify upgrades, that's for sure. Would you buy a black Apple Pencil? I mean, not particularly. I'm fine with my current Apple Pencil, and I already don't use it that much. I just use it for video thumbnails. So $130 on just another color? Probably not. If I had to upgrade my Apple Pencil because I lost that one or something, sure, I'd probably get a black one. It sounds cool. I think the reason they didn't call the 8 the 7S is because the 8 looked different from the back, and all of the S upgrades haven't looked different apart from the new colors. Look at all the S upgrades. If you get the same colors as the non-S one, they look 99% the same. I think you're just repeating my old videos, or at least we think very similar, Yusuf, because I used to say that in my older videos. I was just like, if they called the iPhone 8 a 7S, it would be one of the biggest design changes for an S year ever. Because you're right, in all the previous years where they added an S, it was a very small design change, and the glass back is a pretty noticeable design change. But at the end of the day, it really just allowed for wireless charging. Aesthetically, didn't really. I mean, yeah, it did look different, but it didn't function that different. So I still think, in hindsight, they should have called it the 7S. In the past, I think I disagreed, but I think Apple was late to the wireless charging game. They could have done it with the 7. They should have done it with the 7, but they didn't. I don't know why. Maybe the 7 had too many things going on for it at the same time. But, yeah, wireless charging was ready by then, and they still didn't adopt it until 2017. They could have adopted it in 2016. They could have. Would you buy matte black AirPods? I wouldn't buy it if it was just new AirPods and that was the only difference. But if I had to upgrade my AirPods because a new generation came out and there was a black option, yeah, I would get the black one. Same thing with the Apple Pencil. Will they ever reach a point where iPhones will be designated by year? Yeah, I think we're not that far off, honestly. I mean, we're already referring to the iPhone SE as like first gen, second gen, and we can't keep going into the numbers because we'll go 12, 12S Pro Max, 13 Pro Max, 13S Pro Max. It's going to get too complicated. They're going to have to do something with the naming. I don't know what. But do you think the 12 and 12 Max makes sense? When Apple announced the 11 Pro Max, they explained the Max name was because it was the largest screen on an iPhone. To me, it doesn't make sense to name a mid-size model Max. We've gone over this before, but I'll go over it again. Don't expect logic or consistency with Apple's naming. It's never been consistent. It's never been logical ever since 2017. Logic has always been thrown out the window. So they ultimately just go with whatever sounds good. There was no logical reason for them to call it the iPhone XR. No one predicted it would be called the XR. Everyone thought it would be iPhone 9. And Apple just surprised everyone and said, we'll call it R. What's the R for? I don't know. It's just R. So they can do whatever the heck they want. I think it makes sense because there's 12, the cheap one, and they don't want it to sound bad or worse, so they're not going to call it 12 Mini or 12 Air because that implies that it's worse in some way. So the small one is just called the 12, and then the larger one will be the biggest version of the 12. So it's the 12 Max. It's the iPhone 12 in the largest size. So 12 Pro just means it's got the, stainless steel, frosted glass, better cameras and all that. And then the 12 Pro Max is the Pro in the largest size. So I can see why they justify it, but don't expect logic because these companies will name them whatever they want with no consistency or, they're always weird. And yeah, Plus is reserved for services. I don't think they'll call it 12 Plus personally. What are your top 5 priorities in a new flagship phone? I don't know if there's 5. I think it's mainly just, does it run iOS? For me, camera, battery, resale value, because I sell my phones a lot after I use them, and software support. How many is that? 4? Those are the main ones, I guess. Biometrics, probably another one, would be my 5th. I really, really like Face ID in comparison to Touch ID because I've used both fairly extensively, and I think Face ID is better. Let's see, battery stylus, software support, big screen, good processor. Yeah, that stylus being in your list kind of restricts your options there. Yeah, that nothing. The only reason you say it sounds better is because Apple hasn't told you what to get used to yet. The only reason you are all comfortable with 10R is because it's been around for a while. Before it came out, no one was comfortable with it. Everyone was like, 10R, that doesn't sound right. That can't be it. But then it comes out and you're like, okay, sure. Mercy donated some bits. Pick a letter from the alphabet. Guess we're naming it that 10R then, guy. Yeah, that's pretty much it. Siri, pick a random letter. R. Okay, it's the iPhone 10R. That's how it works. You know what? Don't base your naming off of it. Just sounds better when they name their phones iPhone 10s Max spelt with a letter X, so everyone says it XS Max. Ugh, then X was a nightmare for marketing because it just everybody called it the X even though it was pronounced 10, and now there's 2 different ways of pronouncing the same thing. They should honestly just throw in all the colors of the iPhone 11 as options for the next gen AirPods, along with all the upgrades. I would love it, but I don't think they'll do it. My guess is it has something to do with the iconic look. They think that brand recognition of the stem and the white plastic just stands out, and it's a fashion statement in some way. So they just think it has to stay that color and that finish or something because they've had plenty of time to add colors to the AirPods and they haven't. So, 12 Plus would help differentiate it from the 12 Pro Max. The Pro does that. 12 Max, 12 Pro Max. That's the difference. Just like iPad and iPad Pro. There's differentiation right there. You don't have iPad Plus and iPad Pro. You got enough differentiation. The nerds will know the differences. The average consumers don't even need to know about the pros. The average consumer doesn't need to know about stainless steel edges and LiDAR. They'll just buy the cheapest 12 or 12 Max. That's what 90% of the eyes are going to be on looking and coming into Apple stores. AirPods are really only big because of the fashion statement. No, I don't think that's it. I think it's mainly because of their convenience. They nailed the convenience factor better than anyone. There was no wireless headphones that were that easy to set up and start using. Why do you game on Mac? I run Minecraft. Is that gaming, I guess? Because I don't want to spend a bunch of money on a crappy Windows PC that has driver corruption and updates all the time without my consent. I've used Windows PCs extensively, by the way. I tried leaving the whole Mac OS thing. It didn't work out for me, so I came back around. I have owned 2 PCs over the course of my life, and both of them had massive software problems. They had problems with the software updating automatically and breaking things and ruining my presets. They had driver corruption failures, and it actually just became easier to stream my games off the Mac compared to doing it off Windows because of how inconsistent Windows 10 was. So, why don't you get desktop speakers? Because the speakers on my iMac Pro and the built-in speakers on that BenQ monitor actually sound pretty good. I use those a lot, but there'd be no point in it now, honestly, because I said earlier, my wife is working from home, so if I use my desktop speakers, that she can pick that up, and she's taking phone calls, so I just wear headphones now anyway. And they work great. The AirPods have worked fine for editing all my videos. There's very little latency, none that I can notice. I'm editing and working the exact same way I used to work before I had AirPods. So, yeah, I don't mind. They should switch to the year like they did with the Galaxy phones. Yeah, they'll probably get to that point. Can we talk about how I don't believe for a second the 12 is going to have a higher PPI than the 12 Pro? I wouldn't put it past them. They usually have higher pixel densities on smaller devices. Like the iPad Mini has a higher pixel density than the iPad Pro. Just because of the smaller form factor. They might be the same PPI across the board, but I'm just saying it's not impossible. Apple has sometime given higher pixel density to the smaller device. Let's see. What do you think Apple Siri listens in on users' intimate moments according to that whistleblower? Well, Apple, I've seen the article that they didn't. People were saying the punishment wasn't severe enough, but Apple has since changed it to be optional so that you can choose to share your audio recordings or not. Um, so I appreciate the option because Google and Amazon don't have those. So it's better than nothing. But I agree. I made a whole video on that. I was like, Apple messed up on this. Um, I don't know what else you want from them. I mean, you can turn it off if you want, but what do you want now? Like, you want them to be fined more? It's off by default. Do you think we'll see a megapixel increase this year on iPhones? I heard some rumors claiming that, but I've also heard rumors claiming they ditched that idea. So I wouldn't be shocked if it's the same 12 megapixels because I can see really, really great pictures taken on 12 megapixel cameras. And Apple probably knows that increasing the megapixels doesn't magically make the photo better. Samsung has shown us that. They have insanely high megapixels and the photos kind of look crappy. Um, I'm so excited. I'm going to get a MacBook Pro 16-inch 8 terabyte version to play Angry Birds. That sounds wonderful. I think the next MacBook Pro I get is going to have to be 8 terabytes. I keep filling up my storage on my iMac Pro. Let's see. Apparently, the MacBook Air can barely run Minecraft at 25 FPS on normal settings. I know Macs aren't meant for gaming, but come on, it's Minecraft. People act like Minecraft is a super easy, basic game to run. You can get really high-end machines to lag on Minecraft if you just crank up the chunks. If you turn up the render distance on Minecraft, you can get really high-end hardware to lag. Um, People always joke about it. It's just Minecraft. Why is it so hard? You can. I've seen it myself. I've seen higher end PCs and cranking up the chunks, and okay, it's lagging now. You just turn up the render distance enough. But no, the MacBook Air. No one buying the MacBook Air is getting it for gaming. That's not the point. Also, Java Minecraft is horribly optimized compared to Windows 10 Minecraft, so it's not in Microsoft's best interest to optimize it to run better on the Mac. There's a lot of games that run a lot better on the Mac when they're optimized for it. When are you buying your 16-inch MacBook Pro? I don't know. I kind of want to wait for them to refresh it spec-wise, but at the same time, I know I have some issues with my iMac Pro, but it's not that big of an issue. Like, I won't upgrade it instantly. You are right. It's the same story. The bloke just revealed himself publicly. Well, good for him for revealing himself, but I just mean, I don't know what else you want Apple to do. They changed it. They responded. And I think it's good that they responded because they did mess up, but like, what do you just want to fine them? Do you want a bunch of money? Like what? Where are we going with this? Do you have any pro tips for iPad Pro? My 2020 12.9-inch iPad Pro is coming soon. No, just enjoy it. I don't have any tip. I mean, I enjoy the keyboard case, but I know it's expensive. Um, there's pro applications I like. I like LumaFusion. I like Over. I like Affinity Photo. What's it called? Apple should sell different tip types for the Apple Pencil. Microsoft does it for the Surface Pen. What for? What does it help with? I'm not saying they shouldn't. I just don't know what that would do. Yeah, I also hope the Pro apps aren't too gimped. What do you think of the previous AirPower rumors, which everyone seemed to forget already? I stand by my point that if Apple announces that they're not going to release a product and that they've canceled it, it's probably not coming out. There may be prototypes internally, sure, that some developers are working on. But that doesn't, like, it. In my opinion, it would hurt them more than it would help them. I don't think it would help Apple's image for them to release AirPower at this point because, for one, it's already not that cool of a product. I mean, it's like, oh, cool, you can drop your device anywhere now, but it's like, all right, it doesn't work with the Loop watch bands. You can't use the watch in nightstand mode. And at the end of the day, the use case of taking your devices off and dropping them on a wireless charger hasn't changed. You still basically use it the same way you would use any 3-in-1 charger, and they are still advertising 3-in-1 chargers on the Apple Store. So the problem, if they announced AirPower later in the end of this year, early 2021, they're like, hey everyone, AirPower's here. It would require every YouTuber and every news article to talk about how Apple initially unveiled it and then canceled it and didn't reach their deadline. And they would all have to refer back to Phil Schiller saying, no one else in the industry knows how to do this, but we can. It's like, well, why did you cancel it? Why didn't, if they were working on it and planning on releasing it, why not just postpone it? You could have just said, it's not going to be ready for a while. It's like, we don't know when it's going to be ready. They didn't do that. They came forward and said, not happening, canceled. And there are a lot of leaks. There were a lot of leaks of AirPower before it launched that led us all to believe it was about to come out at any moment. And it still got the plug pulled on it. And there were rumors going around that, Apple started mass producing it and then destroyed them. They went as far as to mass produce the thing and then destroy the mass produced units because they weren't happy with the results. If they're willing to do that, then just because someone's testing it internally, I would say means no chance of that thing coming back. They've wasted a ton of money on it already. I don't think it would sell that well, even if they launched it. I doubt there would be much of a profit. I doubt that many people would buy it, other than YouTubers. So it's just not worth it. It's not worth their time. It's a sore point for Apple. It's a open wound that they would probably hope you forget about. I bet they wish they could go back in time and get rid of that part of the keynote and be like, let's not bring that up. Let's not talk about that. So why would they just suddenly bring it back? I don't get it. It was way too ambitious for what it was. Way too much work for something that doesn't really make that big a difference. At the end of the day, you're going to put your devices on the charger the same way. It's not that big. Just like a normal 3-in-1 charger. This is where your phone goes. This is where your AirPods go. This is where your watch goes. Done. Okay, with AirPower, you use it the same way. All that work for what, exactly? That doesn't sound like Apple at all, but does Apple let these big tech YouTubers keep the products they send them? I don't think so, from what Marquez said in his video. When they send a product to someone, they usually expect it back. I saw something from Pitaka called the Air Omni, which claims to be able to charge your iPhone, AirPods, Apple Watch, iPad Pro, and more all on the same pad. I'm skeptical. Well, iPad Pro doesn't support wireless charging, so I'm unsure how that works. And Apple Watch only works with the proprietary charge puck, so I'm sure it's just like the millions of other 3-in-1 chargers on the market. But I got to get going, guys. I got a lawn to mow, so thank you all for your donations, your Twitch Primes. It's been fun. It's been real. I won't be posting any videos for the next 2 days because it's my weekend, taking some time off. But please do check out the Tailosive podcast channel. We're on track to become monetizable very quickly, but it sounds like we're going to hit the watch hours before we actually hit the subscriber count. So please, I don't ask you to subscribe to things that often. Check out the Tailosive podcast channel. Helps us out a lot. All right, guys, have a good one. Bye-bye.